Hiya everyone. So I did a poll on my Instagram last night asking whether you would like to see a video about my relationship with education, or if you'd like to see my makeup brushes collection. And it was almost all my school story. So here we go. I want to make this video to explain obviously what my relationship with school was, but also to make people feel like they aren't alone when they're going through problems such as these. So we'll start from the beginning. Primary school was brilliant for me. I had amazing teachers. I went to a brilliant primary school where I did lots of sports in the morning, so I burnt a lot of energy before I had to sit through lessons. And a story for another time is that I would also rather be at school than at home. But then we get onto secondary school. Now, in primary school, I was, and not to toot my own horn here, but I was recognised as gifted and talented. That was mainly because my primary school understood that intelligence was not an exam result. It was how you carried yourself and how you were interested in things, and how, you know, all of you, not just the result on a piece of paper. Unfortunately, this turned into more of a curse in secondary school, as when I was finding something difficult, I was not given the support I needed. I was told I wasn't trying hard enough. I was told, oh, you're just being lazy. I was told, oh, you just weren't listening. And this started from year 7, and which is when you're 11 and 12. And that started to build up my resent towards education. I went to a mainstream school. If you don't know what mainstream school is, that basically means normal school. From the ages of 11 till I was 15. And it was bad for me. I couldn't cope with the they weren't that long, they were hour-long lessons, but you had 2 hours before break, 2 hours before lunch, and an hour before you went home. And I couldn't cope with sitting in those lessons for that amount of time. I just couldn't. I also couldn't cope with not being able to voice my opinion and get the respect that I felt I should have as another human being. Not as a student, but as a human being. And I also really struggled with trying to learn, because I wanted to do it my way and at my pace, but that didn't work for mainstream. Mainstream has a formula, and that formula is supposed to work for every single young person in the country. Now, I'm sure when I put it like that, it does sound ridiculous, because every young person is completely different and has their own problems or strengths. Every young person is different in that sense. So that, unfortunately, that formula did not work for me at all. So due to my problems, I was in detentions every day. I was temporarily excluded 3 times, and eventually I was managed moved, which basically means you aren't permanently excluded, but they're telling you to get out. So I then went to an AP academy, which it stands for alternative provision. So this is the step just before you're permanently excluded and you end up at a pupil referral unit. If you end up at a pupil referral unit, you will never be reintegrated into mainstream education. They see that they think that your behaviour is so extreme that you cannot be with the rest of your community, essentially. Now, the AP academy I went to, unfortunately, was really badly organised. You know, I'm from London, where there's a lot of people and not a lot of funding. So it just was not great. So I was only there for a year and a term, because I came at the end of year 10 and I was to stay till year 11. Now, with the AP academy, like I said, with the PRU, pupil referral unit, you can never be reintegrated. However, at most AP academies, they make the rule that if you're in year 10, i.e. starting your GCSE courses, you will not be really integrated at that point. So if you end up at an AP from year 8, year 9, they will try and make you get you to move to another school. If you come later than that, no chance. You're stuck there. So my AP Academy had some teachers who thought that strict discipline was the way to deal with children who couldn't cope with mainstream education. They were wrong. But unfortunately, the majority of the other teachers just didn't care, because they were there because they didn't want to work in a normal school with the sort of responsibility that working in a normal school brings. Working in an AP Academy is much easier. So it wasn't great. I then had a huge mental health blip that left me housebound for 6 months, and I never ended up taking my GCSEs, which, if you're not from Britain, is the exam you take when you're 16 that then lets you go to college and do A-levels. Then once you do A-levels, that allows you to go on to university. So I never got to do my GCSEs. So then I had to work out, what do I do next? In the big wide world, and very little option. So I decided I'll try an apprenticeship in childcare. So I was working in nurseries. And in theory, that's brilliant. But again, as my luck has shown, I end up somewhere very badly organised. And I worked for nearly a year in nursery, but ended up leaving without a qualification, apart from one in maths. So then I was stuck again. What do I do next? So I thought, fuck it. If it doesn't work for me like this, I'm going to go my own way. I came on holiday to Poland to my family, and I sort of never left. And I like it like this. I've been here for nearly 8 months, and it's great. I'm learning Polish and looking for a job, and my plan is that in October I'm going to apply to the Open University that do courses, not even courses, university degrees, without having, you don't need to have qualifications in order to do that. So it's an amazing step if I can take it. It does cost money, as university in Britain does, which is only sort of the only downside, but there you go. So part of the reason I wanted to make this video was to start the conversation about what education means and the problems with mainstream for a lot of people. Education doesn't mean school. Education means life. Education means researching stuff that interests you and finding out all the information about it and being so knowledgeable about that subject that no one could question you. But they don't do that in school. They teach you to pass. I don't blame teachers, I don't even blame schools, I blame the system. But that's how it is. And also, you know, if you don't fit in a mainstream school for whatever reason, it may not be negative behaviour. It may be you get bullied or you're just different from other people. That's okay. That doesn't mean that you're a failure. It doesn't mean you're naughty. It doesn't mean you're bad. And it doesn't mean you're weird. It just means it doesn't work for you. But that doesn't mean that that's your only option. You can always find different ways in life to go down different paths. And if you get to the point that I got, where nothing seemed to be going your way, change country if you have the option. Or change something about your situation. Whether that be what kind of education you're going down. So if you're at college, let's say you've done secondary school and you just about got by through that, and you're at college and you're like, oh God, I can't do another 2 years of this. Look at what other options you have. For example, apprenticeships. Now, I was unlucky that my college was really not good at it, but you won't necessarily be that unlucky. There may be lots of other options within that are much better than the one I got. And you can always do something, and don't worry, you know, you're not alone. You're not the only person who couldn't do mainstream. There's so many kids. I was in a relatively small AP academy, but we still had 3 sites filled with children who mainstream just did not work for. And that's one AP academy. Imagine how many there are in the country. I should have looked up the statistics, but I don't know. But there's loads. And then you have the pupil referral units on top. Don't worry. It's all going to be okay. You'll work it out. You'll get there. So I hope this video was interesting, but also maybe helpful to people who needed it. So yeah, slightly more serious than last time. Don't worry, I'll be back on my silliness again at some point. But I thought this video would be quite interesting to make, and you guys asked for it, so here we are. Thank you very, very much for watching, and thank you so much for the response to my last video. That was amazing. It really gave me the confidence to carry on. So hopefully I'll see you again next week. Ta-ra!